Denver is dropping its live stream of elections work, citing conspiracy theorists and the threat of danger. Colorado's best-known bookstore is going bankrupt after a failed plan to expand its way to profitability. A coal train derailing has been a dangerous mess. Colorado's proposed oil train derailing could be a disaster.
What happened here in Pueblo yesterday is the canary in the coal mine that we have to get it right before we move forward.
And 5 decades of turning unused spaces into gardens is hitting a major milestone. We'll celebrate it together, because hey, I'm back, and this is next. Ballots for the November election hit the mail today, which means that voters will soon be making decisions, and elections workers are already getting more physical protection from threats by conspiracy theorists and extremists. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger joins us from the Denver election office, where they used to offer a live stream of their work. But Marshall, now they worry that that act of transparency could put their people in danger.
Right, and getting rivet, nothing funny is going on. Security cameras similar to the bubble just over the front entrance here, those are always recording. The live stream was just a perk. It's not the only security change being made at the election office here in Denver. These bollards just went up recently because there was concern that someone was going to drive a car through the sidewalk off Bannock through the front entrance of the election office. So getting rid of the live stream in comparison is pretty tame. Cameras record everything related to the processing of your election ballot, from the ballot drop box to the ballots being received inside the clerk's office to preparing them to be counted, to me shooting video of one of the security cameras. It is all recorded, and Denver shared that footage in real time as a live stream online, something that gave voters a behind-the-scenes look and gave me and Kyle a chance to fill time at 7 p.m. on election nights while waiting for the first results to upload. If you want to be a nerd like me, you can go to the Denver Elections website and watch the processing of ballots happening in real time. These videos will not be streamed starting this election.
We've discovered recently that there are significant threats to our elections personnel.
Denver clerk and recorder Paul Lopez is only pulling the plug on the live stream. The cameras still record, and the footage must be kept for 25 months.
It's something that we're going to do to protect the election system, but also to protect workers from getting doxxed or harassed or anything like that.
He's worried about election conspiracy theorists trying to identify election workers through the live stream.
I don't want to be in a point where we wait until something happens in order to do it.
A lot of those theorists are here in El Paso County, and they've actually applauded my move.
Republican El Paso County Clerk Steve Schleicher will debut a new live stream of 24-hour ballot drop boxes.
Per Colorado statute is we have to keep this stuff for 25 months. But our records here is we can maintain them in the cloud for up to 10 years.
Ballots are collected from drop boxes by 2 election workers of opposing parties, and that will be recorded and live streamed at all 39 ballot drop boxes in and around Colorado Springs. The video, just like any county's election security cameras, are public records that can be requested for review.
Embedding these videos out onto my website for the citizens of El Paso County is I'm now providing this information for free.
No matter what county you're in, every ballot drop box is monitored by 24-hour video surveillance. And if you want to watch the processing after it leaves the box and it's inside the building and you're bothered that the live stream is gone, there are viewing windows. I believe most counties have these. Denver certainly has viewing windows that do not require a Wi-Fi connection. It just requires you to actually leave the house and show up in person to watch.
Marshall, what do you think the chances are that that convinces one conspiracy theorist?
Maybe 50%?
You're such
51%?
You're such a hopeful guy. Such a hopeful guy. That's why we like you. Marshall, thank you. Colorado's Supreme Court says that police can search for who's Googled something, and that evidence can be presented in court in at least one case. So this challenge came from defense attorneys in the arson trial for the killing of the family of 5 in 2020. After the Joel family died in that fire in Green Valley Ranch, police got Google to share information about anybody who had searched for the family's address. That was key to arresting 3 suspects, teenagers. A defense lawyer said the search was unconstitutionally broad, but the state Supreme Court just disagreed. There's no precedent on this, but justices said the Denver police were acting in good faith on the search, so the evidence can be used. That does not mean, however, that this ruling can be used to determine future cases.
Because the ruling was based on the good faith exception, and now there is a case holding that this is a search and that it's intrusive, then it's going to be difficult for a future district attorney or prosecutor to argue that a future search was based on the good faith exception.
If the defense wants to challenge this ruling, their only option is the U.S. Supreme Court. The iconic Tattered cover bookstore chain filed for bankruptcy today after years of financial struggles and management turnover following its purchase by an investment group. Tattered cover will be closing 3 of its 7 locations as it reorganizes. The investment group that owns the company now included Kwame Spearman. He was CEO of Tattered cover until his short-lived run for mayor this year, when his hardline views on immigration and homelessness turned off some bookstore customers. Spearman is now running for Denver School Board. Tattered cover's new CEO is bankruptcy attorney and former Republican congressional candidate Brad Dempsey. He told me that they're going to be closing Tattered cover's Westminster, Colorado Springs, and Denver's McGregor Square locations by the end of this month. Several of Colorado's most prominent Democratic socialists in office are rejecting the Denver DSA chapter for its view on the Israel-Hamas war. Some are even renouncing their membership in the group. Denver DSA issued a statement Saturday saying that it, quote, unequivocally stands in solidarity with the people of Palestine in their fight for liberation from the apartheid regime of Israel. The Denver Democratic Socialist statement described Hamas's killing of Israeli civilians as negative blowback of apartheid and said it should come as no shock. Aurora City Council members Juan Marcano and Allison Coombs dropped their DSA memberships as a result. State Representative Javier Mabry said he rejects the statement in the strongest possible terms. State Rep Lorena Garcia says she was disappointed and saddened. I-25 north of Pueblo could be closed for days. Coal train derailed, it killed a driver, and spilled its load. That crash highlights the potential risk of a proposed oil train project along the Colorado River. Here's Mark Salinger.
This is what I-25 north of Pueblo looks like today. A train derailed, a truck driver killed, and a lawn cleanup ahead. But this is what the bridge looked like just last month when this picture was taken for Google Maps. The cracks are obvious as investigators determine whether they played a role in all of this.
What happened here in Pueblo yesterday is the canary in the coal mine.
We still don't know what caused 30 of the 124 cars in this coal train to derail over one of Colorado's busiest roads. But Democratic State Senator Nick Henriksen knows something needs to change.
We're trying to reduce the number of derailments and ensure that when a derailment happens, the potential consequences are managed and contained.
Henriksen represents Pueblo at the state capitol. He's ready to introduce a bill next session to limit the length of trains in Colorado and institute stricter safety measures. It comes as pictures from Pueblo cause concern in places like Glenwood.
When you see it happening in Pueblo, in relatively stable areas, I think that really speaks to our incredible concern.
Jonathan Godez sits on city council in Glenwood and is the former mayor in town. He's fought to keep the Uinta Basin Railway out of Glenwood Canyon. If approved, the project would bring several trains carrying crude oil through Glenwood Canyon every day.
You can't underestimate what 5 2-mile-long trains will do for the train traffic, and the chances that will happen go up exponentially.
A judge recently put the project on hold, telling proponents to conduct a deeper safety study.
It's a really, really fragile canyon that can have significant geological events that can cause a derailment.
Investigators are still trying to figure out what went wrong here in Pueblo. But pictures like these are enough to cause concern everywhere.
The railroad company that owns the train in Pueblo is BNSF. BNSF tells us that CDOT owns the bridge, though, that goes over I-25. Reached out to CDOT today many times, asking them if the bridge was in need of repairs and whether it was designated as structurally deficient before this incident. Kyle, we were told that they aren't answering questions right now.
Obviously, coal spill, one, is coal. It's not oil, and it didn't go into anybody's drinking water supply.
Exactly. If this were to happen, let's say in Glenwood Canyon, if this project was approved and oil gets into the Colorado River, we're talking about millions of people's drinking water that's totally ruined.
And already, Mark, online purveyors of, shall we say, horse excrement are suggesting that this was not an accident, that this was set up.
You need a conspiracy theory about anything these days. Yeah, there's been conspiracy theories online saying right now that this was an act of sabotage on I-25 around Pueblo, that somebody committed an act of terrorism. NTSB says they are not even looking in that right now and not considering that as an option.
All right, Mark Salinger, thank you. Denver Mayor Mike Johnson is adding millions of dollars in emergency rental assistance to his proposed city budget, but he has rejected most of the other spending requests that came from City Council. The adjusted budget is going to add another $3 million for emergency rental assistance, $2 million more for the Basic Income Project, $3 million more for Denver Health. He turned down more funding for a survey of the city's busted sidewalk system. That's him in still frame. Hey, thank you for your support of the nonprofit Commune in your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. You raised more than $5,000 to help them feed families in need in Southwest Denver. Through 169 straight weeks of giving, you have raised $11.4 million for nonprofits in every corner of our state. Here's how this goes. Your ideas spark a lot of these microgiving campaigns. So if you know of a need in your community, let me know. Even if you don't know of the nonprofit working on it, we can find somebody trusted who's in a position to help. Email those ideas to next@9news.com.
What we're seeing is a really organized and systemic attack on intellectual freedom and democracy.
Colorado's libraries are on the front lines of this fight. New numbers show so far they are fending off nearly all the attacks on their books. Colorado has lost out on some serious funding for a green energy project. But a more hands-on effort to go green is hitting a milestone after 50 years of digging up dirt. Colorado's libraries have been getting a lot of requests lately not to check out books, but to prevent other people from checking them out and reading them. Book ban demands have gone up 500% from 2021 to 2022. The Library Research Service has new numbers out saying that Colorado's libraries saw 120 content challenges last year. Few actually result in book bans. About 10% cause some kind of a change. Often it was something like moving a book from the kids section to the young adult section. The most common reason for a book ban request, you guessed it, because the book had something to do with the LGBTQ+ community. The Denver Public Library System is not seeing the amount of requests that other libraries are. And they say that having books that prompt uncomfortable conversations is not a bad thing.
We really need to be able to understand other people's stories as well as our own, and be able to really share that without being fearful of, a different idea, maybe entering our space or the space in our kids' worlds. I think that's a big concern that people have.
Denver Public Library told us even if they are not seeing this in the city, the statewide increase in challenges raises concerns about intellectual freedom and access to information. We've reached out to some library systems most impacted by this, and we're waiting to hear back. Colorado and neighboring states just lost a bid for a huge pot of federal funding last week. It would have gone to a hydrogen energy project. It would have been Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and New Mexico working together to develop sources of low-carbon hydrogen power. Their Western Interstate Hydrogen Hub asked for $1.25 billion from the feds, had bipartisan support from state leaders. Colorado's Democratic Governor Jared Polis said they were deeply disappointed that the Biden administration sent that money elsewhere. There was opposition from environmentalists who said that it didn't do enough to reinvest in communities. They thought it would actually extend reliance on fossil fuels. That federal funding ended up going to hubs in 8 other states. Danielle, Grant, guy can't step away for a couple weeks around here without falling. It kind of happened.
Like that. But we're going to be looking at some fantastic weather. Maybe you brought it back with you, Kyle. 70s, low 80s, plenty of sunshine this week. We are looking fantastic. Today, the start of it. We touched 75 out at DIA. A couple of degrees warmer across the Eastern Plains, like in Ray and Lamar, 60s and even some 70s up into the mountains. So yes, fall is, it's here, all right. Across downtown Denver and beyond, we're watching that evening light fade. Maybe a few clouds out there. Otherwise, that's about it. We have an area of low pressure across the Pacific Northwest, ushering in some scattered rain showers around parts of Washington, Idaho. That system is going to hang just to the north of Colorado, so we really won't see much in the way of rain or snow anytime soon. It is so quiet across the entire state, tough to find much cloud cover. This ridge of high pressure is going to be with us for about the next 24 hours. So that means tomorrow we have another little warm up on the way, but this dry cold front will swing in late Tuesday night into Wednesday, and that is going to help to cool us off ever so slightly. Tomorrow, though, we're going to be close to a record 86, the current record high. Last set back in 1926. My forecast going to be at about 83. We'll stay in the mid 80s across the Eastern Plains. Pretty toasty for the middle of October. There's that cool off. We're down to 70, but still sunny skies on Wednesday, and then temperatures climb. 70s and more sunshine on deck for the weekend.
These are spaces for folks that might need a little bit more accessibility.
And the result that is growing there is feeding our neighbors. It's a little garden project times 200 net. Back in the 1970s, on Denver's north side, something began to grow. A group of gardeners started an effort that has spread across the metro area to 200 community gardens. Our Byron Reed has the story.
So those are about 10 by 10, so that will provide food for a family of 4 plus neighbors.
Taking an empty plot of land and making it a garden can help reshape a neighborhood.
I absolutely love gardening. We just harvested the rest of our tomatoes this weekend because of the freeze and made a yummy tomato sauce.
Nisa Mogaraban is the Director of Corporate Partnerships with Denver Urban Gardens, or DUG, a group that's been around for 45 years regenerating urban green spaces, and now they're setting a record in Northwest Denver.
This right here is Denver Urban Gardens' 200th community garden and food forest. This space was actually part of Rocky Mountain Lake Park, and about 60 years ago when I-70 was built, they cut off 3 parcels here that have just kind of been fallow and unused.
A partnership with Denver Parks and Rec helped turn this space into a community garden and food forest. About 30 volunteers and staff from DUG built the infrastructure to increase access to healthy foods.
You don't see too many grocery stores for healthy, organic, hyper-local produce, right? So this is where you can get that food.
Mogaraban also says the group planted new trees to help with heat reduction and pollution from nearby I-70.
When the trees, grow into maturity, they will really help with that noise pollution. They will, help heal this soil and create, shade for this heat island effect that we're seeing here. Pretty soon, this area will be about 5 to 10 degrees cooler.
The hope is for the neighborhood to develop a green thumb.
This is a great space for community building.
On a plot of land that's helping this group set another milestone.
We started actually in North Denver, so to come full circle around with our 200th garden here in North Denver is super exciting. And again, we couldn't do it without our partners.
For Next,
we know this is a need. We know that people are wanting this.
I'm Byron Reed.
Denver Urban Gardens is one of the largest independent networks of food-producing gardens in the country these days. 6 metro counties at this point. They were actually a recipient of your Word of Thanks microgiving generosity 2 summers ago. We are back with your feedback and the answer to your very fair question about where in the world I've been lately. The most Colorado thing we saw today were the final peach stand customers of the year. John saw a herd of elk ready to pick a Palisade peach stand clean in Kittredge. Not sure how many peaches were left at this point. It's a little late in the season, guys. If you see something that just says Colorado to you, email it to us next at 9news.com. Feedback tonight, Kay from Parker gets directly to the point. All Kay wrote was, where did you go and how long were you gone? Kay, I was gone for 2 weeks. I'm grateful that somebody noticed. You asked where I went. I was in London, spending time with old friends. Went to Paris, because I like roundabouts. Joined a 500-step program to climb to the top of the Cologne Cathedral. Saw boats in a moat when I went to Ghent. Had the mussels in Brussels. And in a town named Beersel, you know what I did. Watched the sunset over the canals in Bruges. And then it was back home for some time with my favorite people in my favorite place in the world. And Holly writes in to say, I had a $10 bet you would come back with a beard. Holly, normally that is a very safe bet if you've watched this program for any length of time. But you know what? Sometimes change is good. See you next time.